What's up, everybody? It's Calvin Milliner here with Daily Mail Sport USA, and I got my partner in crime with me, Ike Feldman, and we have the one and only Eddie Hearn. How you doing, man?
Doing fantastically well. Listen, I'm impressed. I'm over here with Daily Mail US.
Yes.
You got Daily Mail cushions, right? We don't get them in England, right? Oh, look at this. I know what's going on. I always thought Daily Mail was just a UK thing. I know you're flying in the US now. Congrats.
Yeah, man. Thank you, man. Thank you. So, big fight coming up this week between Xander Zayas and Boots Ennis. I heard you say this is a very big fight for Boots. Just how big is it? Like, where could this fight take him?
Well, firstly, I think it's the fight of the year. Like, if you look at, sometimes you say that and fight fans are like, well, I said, okay, tell me a bigger fight or a better fight. I guess Shakur Teo is up there, but like the difference with these guys is like you can have pound for pound great fighters who have got great IQ, right? They're good defensive fighters. Boots does everything, but he tries to take you out from the first bell. Like, he's electric to watch. Then you got this other guy, Xander, who's 23, right? Puerto Rican star, did the Super Bowl with Bad Bunny. He did the parade last week in New York. He's choosing to fight the boogeyman of the division in Boots. And Boots is our guy. I think you're going to see a performance that establishes him as the new star of boxing on Saturday. You know, Brooklyn, Barclays Center, huge crowd. It's just going to be an amazing fight.
Could this be a Floyd Canelo situation where Boots wants to
I said that earlier. But I think, again, I don't think Boots wants to catch anybody at a specific time, but the decision from Xander to take this fight does remind me a little bit of that Canelo decision, which everyone was saying at the time, like, what are you doing? Like, top rank his promoters, they didn't want him to take this fight because they like to carefully guide them. But Roy Jones, I watched his thing with Andre Ward. It's really interesting. Andre Ward was like, why is he doing this? And Roy Jones went, it's what you should do, right? You're unified world champion. You say you're the best in the division. Fight the other guy that's supposed to be the best in the division, and let's find out. So we're blessed. Boxing's blessed with this fight. And Xander deserves a lot of credit because he's the one. Without him, we would never have got this fight. But for a long time, people in the game have been talking about how good Boots Ennis is. And this is the time to show it.
Saw Xander at the presser. Big guy.
Huge.
Big man. And he's like, I think they were talking about an early June fight as opposed to late June. And I'm like, I think he needs the extra time.
Well, he asked for the time.
To shrink down. Big dude. In my opinion, I would naturally give him the power advantage. Boots, speed, and pressure. What do you see?
I think Boots hits very hard, right? But Xander is a big 154-pounder. Obviously, Boots coming up from welterweight, 147 pounds. But he was struggling down there. And this gives him more energy, gives him a better tank, a better engine, and he can really punch. But I think a lot of people are saying, like, if the fight goes late and, you know, Xander uses his size, he's got tremendous work rate as well, who knows? Like, Boots has never been under pressure in a fight. It's never come on top. He's never been pushed onto the back foot. He's never been walked down by the bigger guy. So maybe they see something that we don't. But I think the first 6 rounds is going to be treacherous for Xander Zayas. And I'd be surprised if he came through those first 6 rounds because, like, Boots is walking around right now, like, he's like got the biggest smile on his face. He's just going to me, watch. What? I'm like, all right. But then you talk to Xander and he's like, no way I'm losing this fight. I'm like, well, someone's wrong, right? So hopefully it's not our guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You talk about Boots, like the confidence, and Xander having that confidence going into his fight. People say, you even said it, Xander might be crazy for taking this fight. So, like, if Boots gets in the ring, how does he have to, what does the result have to be for him?
I mean, victory is always like the one, but the way you win is so important in terms of your trajectory within the sport and superstardom, right? So, as a promoter, I know that if you look unbelievable, I mean, we've got Ben Whitaker on the undercard, right? The card's unbelievable because you've got Whitaker, who's like the biggest star to come out of the UK now, and then you've got Emiliano Vargas, right, who's with Top Rank. Another, like, they're kind of like for like in terms of the social noise, the digital noise, but Ben's an elite fighter. He's making his US debut. Now, if you come over and it's a bit boring and, like, you US fans, you're so brutal. Like, 2 rounds in, boo, you know, especially if there's someone as flashy as Ben Whitaker. So you're under more pressure. But with Boots, it all depends what you want. If you want to be pound for pound number one and start having people say, this is the guy, you got to go in there and you got to make everyone believe you're the guy. And you do that by stopping this guy within 6 rounds. I mean, that's what I think will happen. And that's what I think is the type of performance that will make everyone go, okay, they were right.
And speaking of Ben, show me the money.
Yeah, exactly.
That was great. That was a
Listen,
great
Ben Whitaker, he gets it. You know, I mean, he's there's a kind of you know, the misconception of Ben Whitaker is that he's this flashy, you know, quite arrogant guy.
Right.
Couldn't be further from the truth, actually. Very humble, you know, man of faith.
As we learned,
Like-
he said he doesn't do that in practice.
No. And to be fair, as he's been going through the levels, that kind of performance has been dying out because you can't do that against better opposition. He's got a tough fight this Saturday against Rivera, who's very experienced. But he just gets it. And he's like this whole anime thing. You know, he's got massive followings in that world, which I don't quite get that world, but I know it's a world that exists. And
You've
it's
heard
huge.
of Dragon Ball Z.
Of course, yeah. But like, he's got massive followings in like Japan and the US and stuff like that. So I really feel like Ben has the personality, the profile, but more so the ability to become a global star. And this is a big moment for a UK fighter to have their US debut deep on the card. It's going to be a huge crowd at Barclays. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, like back to Boots. His experience. You know, Xander is young. Does Boots' his experience win him this fight? Would you say?
You know, it's very unique that a fighter of 23 can be a unified world champion. Bam, one of our other fighters, is 26. He's a 3-division champion. He's a pound for pound number 3. So the age stuff, like, you know, I mean, you would just have to think that as he gets older, he's going to progress through the weight classes. He's a big guy. Boots is like, boxing's his life, right? He's a gym rat. So even when he's got no fight, he's in the gym. His dad trains him. His brothers train him. All his brothers were fighters. He basically lives in the gym in Philly. So it's like, I always think, you know, like when guys find boxing late, a bit like AJ, you're playing a catch-up game, right? Because these guys have been fighting since they were 5 or 6, literally, like in the gym as kids. Like, and that time in the gym, that time in the ring means a lot. So Boots has got the natural experience. But Xander's a hell of a fighter. He's actually got a really good IQ, Xander, for such a young fighter. Great amateur himself, and he's progressed really well. I mean, the atmosphere will be wild because you've got like half the arena will be Puerto Rico, half the arena will be Philly.
Yes. Yeah.
Then you got New York fans, you know, yeah.
Yeah, I think Richard Rivera booking was a perfect opponent. I've seen a couple of his fights because he's like a local legend, the Puerto Rican Popeye.
Exactly,
They've
yeah.
been to, like, small
Is he
venues.
Puerto Rican as well? Jesus, didn't know that. That was a bad opponent. Yeah. But it's like, I saw him fight Badu Jack in Saudi Arabia. He won that fight easy. They actually robbed him that night. And, you know, the thing is, because of the size of the country and because of the pool of the fighters, the quality here is much better in terms of the depth. So, like, if you look at Rivera, he's like, I don't know, top 10 in the US, light heavyweights. But if he was in the UK, he'd be like top 5, top 3, like, you know. So it's a tricky fight. And you come to make US debut, everything's a bit different. You got the time zone, you got the big city, the commission's different, the way they wrap the hands is a little bit different, you know. So, but it's a great experience for someone that I think is going to go on and be a world champion.
Yeah, do you pick your fighters because met Emiliano, met Ben, clean cut, well spoken, obviously killers in the ring. Do you have a certain template that you're looking
Not really.
for?
I think
AJ as well.
the great thing about promoting fighters and talent is that you let them be who they are, right? So I would never say to a guy, you need to dress up like, let's dress a bit smarter, you know, like let's dress a bit street, let's go in and slap this guy, let's do this, let's talk about your mum, you know, and, or, you know, in a respectful way, how much you love her, and like you were great at school, you were terrible at school, you went to prison. Everyone's got a story, but the story, as long as the story's real, it doesn't really matter. And that's why I think the Whitaker stuff's really interesting, because that whole anime work, like, it's just, I've never seen it before, really. I've never seen a fighter talk about anime characters, and when he talks about it, he's like, he's really into it. Do you know what I mean? I'm like thinking, oh, what is he talking about? Yeah. Bam's a bit like that. Bam's a bit quirky like that as well, you know. And then you got Vargas. That's a legacy. That's a dynasty. Obviously, you got his dad, one of the great Mexican fighters, and he's his trainer, you know. So there's always a story, but you got to tell the real story, not let's put him in a suit, let's do that, you know, because I think that then you start manufacturing it, and it's not as effective.
Now, your prediction. Xander Zayas,
Boots inside 6.
Boots inside 6.
I really feel like he comes out like a train. You know, like a lot of these guys, and some of my favourite fighters, Shakur, Devin, you know, these kind of guys, they're like, it's like 8 rounds. It's like, wait till you see this guy. He just wants to light up his opponent.
If he stops him side of 6.
Oh, then we need to start giving it, like we need to say, this guy's a real deal.
If he stops him inside of 6, where does that take him next? I know Virgil.
You've got to try, Ortiz will be back this year. They won't fight Boots straight off the bat because he'll be out for a year. Okay. So I would expect him to take a comeback fight. You got to go for undisputed. You know, you got Josh Kelly's one of our guys. You got Fundora, which is a massive fight, literally. I mean, this guy is a freak of nature. How do you beat a guy who's 6 foot? What is he? 6'6"? Like he's a 154 pounder. So I wish I was 154 pound. You'd have to cut off both my legs to get me to 154 pound. But you know, so there's some great fights. But he will be a guy that will go through 154, 160. I think he'll end up at 168. He's a phenomenal guy.
Nice.
Do you want to ask it? Do I ask it?
You ask it.
Dana White.
Yeah, who?
This small time.
Oh, this stalker. You know what I mean?
Stalker.
Stalker. Do we have something in the UK called restraining orders? Do you have that over here? Where it's like, when someone's obsessed with someone and don't stop talking about them, you put in I think
he spoke of you very, not highly, but
no.
Yeah, there's major White House event.
Unbelievable.
Could have talked about numbers, the performance of Gaethje, Gane, so on.
Yeah. Unbelievable event. I mean, listen, we're not getting on at the moment, and there is a cold war in boxing between me and Dana, but that event was incredible. I mean, like this, and that shows you the power of these guys. I mean, he's literally in Donald Trump's garden having a cup of tea or a tequila or whatever he's drinking. You know what I mean? So they're very powerful people. They run a great business, and the UFC's a great model. Boxing's bitten them in the backside a little bit because you saw Sean O'Malley come out and say he got 600,000 to fight in the White House, and he's like, they're paying fighters that to fight an 8-rounder on an undercard. Yeah. Like, and the UFC, we've signed Tom Aspinall. We just announced today we've signed Ian Gary as well, and a management deal. Literally just announced it an hour ago. Yeah, well,
any chance?
I mean, if I'm allowed, we'd like to be there. Yeah. So, but that whole, I'm learning more about the MMA space. I mean, I've never been a mad MMA fan, but I respect the business and I respect the athletes and the fighters, and it's an interesting time in the UFC. But
is there any way we could get these fantasy fights? We got Ngannou. I know Rico hasn't done MMA, but he's trained with Aspinall.
Great. Yeah, I mean, you got obviously Aspinall's got to fight Gane. It's a huge rematch. And I think people sort of fail to either acknowledge or understand. Like, since we've started working with Aspinall, the noise that it's created. Tell me a bigger star than Tom Aspinall. I mean, there are. I'm sure there are a couple that you'd say. He's a bigger
star than Francis.
Exactly. So he right now is one of the most talked about fighters in the world. In fact, the rematch with Gane is one of the biggest fights in the UFC.
Yes.
But it's dangerous, and we know what Gane. I mean, I couldn't.
Would you take it in Paris?
Yeah, Tom would. Tom don't care, but he's got to be. You've got to just respect the guy in terms of the money that's in the pot. The danger of the fight, going to Paris, all this kind of stuff. We're not looking to hold anyone to ransom. We're just looking for a bit of respect. And, I'm learning on the MMA side, but I'm watching this game. And that Pereira stuff was wild. Yes. You're talking about, 12 unanswered shots on the back of the head with elbows. Yeah, but elbows and unanswered to a static target. Wasn't the guy moving around. He was on the floor and it was boom, boom, boom. I'm thinking, is that even allowed? And they're like, no, it's not. I'm like, good, because rabbit punching in boxing is one of the most dangerous, it's the most dangerous part of the head to get struck on. So, if you go in and you fight Gane in the rematch, like Tom will, we saw what happened in the first fight. Like, this guy's a dirty fighter, but that's the game. Do you know what I mean? I mean, but you know what you're signing up for, but you just got to be, taken care of for that. So,
did you see the Netflix MMA, the event? Maybe John Jones was on the broadcast.
Yeah,
UFC has him under contract. He's saying, "I want to get out of my UFC."
Yeah,
contract.
a lot of them do.
There's no way that they can say, "Hey, lawyers, hey, judge, Netflix MMA, Jake Paul, they're offering us much more. to come here, like you would be holding us against, even though there's a contract. There's no loophole.
I'm sure there's loopholes. Look, I think that the contracts have changed quite a bit because the contracts used to be based on a pay-per-view model, which no longer exists anymore under Paramount. So, but like, you know, there's always opportunities to earn more money, but you have to respect the fact that you've signed a contract. It's not like you can't just say, "Well, I can get more money over there." It's like you're under contract. But I said,
signed an 8-fight extension before the White House. So he probably got what he wanted up front.
Yeah,
I'm like,
but it's like,
trap.
you know, I had that response to Dana recently because he signed Conor Benn, right, our boxer, and he said, you know, Eddie should be happy for Conor Benn because we're paying him a lot more money. So I said, okay, well, release Tom Aspinall because I'll pay him 5 times more money than you're paying him.
Right.
He's like, no, he's under contract. I said, well, like, you can't be happy for Conor Benn yet not happy for...
Right.
Because the reality is, see, I could make Aspinall against Ngannou, right, for 5 times more money than Tom could make in the UFC.
Eddie, I will start. You'll have to put a restraining order against
I know,
me.
but he's under contract. And that's the, you know, and don't forget, I also work on the other side where I can't just say that a boxer can just go, well, I can get more money out of there and try and bust out of his contract. You've got to go through a process. That's why we want to sit down with the UFC and be sensible. And Tom's not, you know, I mean, Tom's fought for poor money for a long time. But he just, you know, when you sit down with a specialist and you have 4 eye operations and the guy says, you could have lost your eyesight, and then you're going to rematch the guy who'll probably do it again. Like, you're playing with fire, you know? So if you're playing with fire, you need to get looked after, and that's all we're after, really. I mean, Ian Gary, you know, fights Islam. It's a massive fight. He wins that fight. He's the biggest star in the UFC because he's got the personality, you know, and that's a very tough fight. So I'm enjoying learning, you know, and this is like my education before we move into the space. That's inevitable, you know. But what I don't want to do is I see Dana and those guys go into boxing. They actually don't know what they're talking about. Like, you could say to Dana White, he could sit here now and you could say, oh, well, you signed Conor Benn. Tell me some of the opponents you're looking at. And he would go, what? You know, cut that. You have to send me that edit and we'll cut that out of there and all. That's what they do. So I don't want to be the guy who starts an MMA organisation. Yeah. And I'm doing presses and I'm like him, looking at sheets of paper going, we got on the undercard, we got like... You got to know it inside out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what's all of the what's your take on the Zuffa boxing and whatnot?
At the moment, it's very poor, very low level. But they're 7 months in. But he keeps saying like, judge me on my body of work. I'll show. But what I don't like about it is, you know, before this, Dana was, I'll say he was up my backside, but he was very complimentary. Especially to my face, even publicly, about what Eddie Hearn's done in boxing. Like, he's the only guy that's really gets it. They run a proper business. Then he comes into boxing and he says, all these guys, right? Unfortunately, that's got to include me. They have no vision. You know, they're killing the sport. Wait till you see what we do. And now we're 7 months in. I ain't really seen a lot, to be honest with you. I've seen a few shows in a garage with a lot of people that no one's ever heard of. Even like the breakout show, which is well, it is, isn't it? It's like 200 people in a garage. Right. And then they're doing the show at the theatre, MSG, with Berlanga against someone I've never heard of, Hitchens against someone I've never heard of. Go and look at the seat map. They've sold about 20 tickets on a Sunday night. So it's not easy. Like, it doesn't see. They've got this mindset, Ari Emanuel and all these very bright people. They think they can just plug it into the ecosystem of the WWE and UFC and everything works. It's not like that.
Is he doing too much?
Yeah, I don't think you could ever do too much. I think that's underrated. Yes, you know, but I just think when you go into the space, you got to be ready, like, you know, and see, if you asked him the same question about an MMA guy, he would rattle off everybody they could fight, everybody, because he lives and breathes it. And it's not that easy. I live and breathe boxing because that's what I do. But he don't, and he's not very good.
He's just blowing smoke.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much it, right?
I appreciate you, Eddie.
Thanks, boys, and I look forward to
New
coming
York
back.
office.
Yeah, listen, every time I've done a Daily Mail thing in the past, it's just been on a Zoom. So the fact that I've got a sofa, cheers.
A sofa, you got coffee.
Coffee, everything. Unbelievable. Lovely coffee, by the way.